Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we talk Gravenberch on loan to Manchester United. Is that a policy? Is it a possibility? It'd be a nice policy. Also, Gusto of Lyon being told to snub Chelsea and wait on Manchester United. We've also going to be talking, I want to talk about the David De Gea situation. I was in Manchester yesterday. I didn't really get a chance to be live with you, did I? So I want to talk about that. Also, we'll have some updates on the game against Forest. I know I previewed it last night quickly. Ten Hag has got a press conference today for the first time in a while. Harry Kane's been talking about a move to Manchester United. And also just some interesting updates that I've noted for a little bit later on in the show about Manchester United players moaning about media assessment of them. There was a journalist yesterday who put out a post saying that he got a long, strong-worded email at 1:30 in the morning from a family member of a current United player moaning about their player rating. And Troy Deeney was on a podcast quite recently talking about another Manchester United player's agent who rung him up complaining about things he'd said about him. And you just think, you know, on one level that's very, very basic, but on another level it's really concerning that we have Manchester United players with a mentality that they're looking at the media and then complaining about it. And actually those players probably deserve that sort of, feedback. It just shows weak mentality, which hopefully Erik ten Hag can move out of Manchester United. So lots to get into this morning. I hope you're all doing well. Look, it's there's some interesting stuff to get into. I was listening to, I was actually in the office when Beth was speaking to Fabrizio yesterday and listening with intent to see if we could get any hints about who it is we might go for in the final few days of the transfer window. Obviously, a week today, the January transfer window slams shut. Will we see Manchester United doing any business? Now, we're going to talk about Gravenberch, but remember, 1 week today, this transfer window closes down. Arsenal have spent upwards of touching on 50 million and so far. We know that Liverpool spent 40 million on Chelsea. God knows how much they've spent, and Spurs are set to spend a 30 million pounds in the next couple of days as well. So Manchester United look like being that thing we didn't want to be at the start of the transfer window, whereby Manchester United could be the only club from the traditional top six who don't do anything significant in the transfer window and actually decide to do nothing. Is that a risk? We'll have to discuss it. But we're going to talk about Ryan Gravenberch first, because I'm just putting this tweet out. Told to snub United for Chelsea. Sorry, I shouldn't. This should be done before, but as with many things on this channel, I end up doing it. So let me just do that. There we go. There we go. Okay. So let's fly into this. So there were some stories yesterday that caught my eye about Ryan Gravenberch, because I've been talking about this. Hope you well. Thanks for the content, sister. Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, I had a day in Manchester yesterday. It was good. This is a story that caught my eye yesterday because there's quite a few. There's quite a lot of talk of Gravenberch going to Liverpool on loan, and we were talking about this last week. And I was saying, for me, I've got no idea whether this is possible or not, but the sort of deal I would be looking to do if I was Manchester United would be Ryan Gravenberch on loan, because we need, and we saw it at the weekend, Eriksen is not a combative midfielder when you're playing away against the likes of Arsenal and Man City. And McTominay, I think we all have our opinions on him. So you lose Casemiro for suspension or injury or fatigue and you're in big trouble. Whereas Ryan Gravenberch, look, it's a bit of a risk, but it's the January transfer window. He's played under Erik ten Hag before. He's not playing for Bayern Munich. It's in everybody's interest that he plays football for the rest of the season. I'm not saying we get him on a permanent loan to buy deal, but I'm sure something could be done there. Stephen Thomas, welcome to Members Club. Now, so when I hear that Liverpool might be moving for him on a loan deal, I'm like, hold on a minute. How is that happening then? How are Liverpool taking Gravenberch from Bayern Munich on loan and Man United are just sitting back and letting that one happen? I mean, are we basically playing the game we played last year where we're sort of like saying we're giving up on top four? You've got to be in that sort of race. Digging around, I don't actually think there is anything massive in there from Liverpool at the moment, and therefore it's just talk. But the fact that it's talk would be really prompting me at Manchester United to be going, Eric, is this the sort of player you would like? And he's 100% going to say yes. And then, more importantly, picking up the phone to Bayern Munich and saying, look, he's not playing much for you. we're not saying we want to, we're not looking for a loan to buy deal, but we're certainly looking for a loan deal, and then we can revisit in the summer. Would you be interested in loaning him to Manchester United for the rest of the season? He'll get game time. He's played under Erik ten Hag before. It's not like you're loaning him to Conte, like the Basuma or Jed Spence scenario, where a good player goes to Spurs and then never gets seen again. We're not the Bermuda Triangle. We're Manchester United. Erik ten Hag basically made Gravenberch. He was 20 years of age, isn't he? So his development was at Ajax. I think it's a very, very clever deal for Manchester United to approach to do. And I would like to see us start looking at doing something like that in the final weeks of the transfer window, because having had, nearly 48 hours to digest the Arsenal result, I think the further you move away from that result, the more accepting you become of it, in the sense that we weren't robbed, we didn't do enough to win the game, and really, we're disappointed because we didn't get the draw. And that's basically the situation. Is that what we want to be as a football club? Disappointed that we didn't hold out for a draw against Arsenal? No, we want to be better than that. And why couldn't we take the game to Arsenal? Because ultimately our midfield is weak when Casemiro's not there. And ultimately the goals we scored, one was from a set piece and one was from a bloody worldie. So Arsenal probably did deserve to win that game. Disappointed that we didn't hold on, but do we want a Brighton mentality or do we want a Manchester United mentality? And therefore, I think you've got to be looking to do these sort of deals. So, look, I'm not saying it's going to happen. There's a bit of rumour around Liverpool. I think Manchester United need to be looking at these deals and other deals. I mean, Juventus, Paredes, Rabiot, Locatelli. I'm not saying that those deals can be done, but they can't be done if you're not picking up the phone and you're not looking at it. So let's see what happens in the next week. But Manchester United certainly need to be looking at deals. I think we're looking at an attacking midfielder, which I don't have a massive problem with. But on the other hand, if push comes to shove, could you play Garnacho as a 10, Pellistri as a 10, put Eriksen as a 10? There are options at 10. But what you can't do is play anybody in the Casemiro role or the Eriksen role apart from Fred, who is reliable, and Fred can't do the Casemiro role. So I think that's the position we should be looking at. But apparently we're looking at a more attacking midfielder, which still will leave us exposed. The second story of interest this morning revolves around Malo Gusto, who's a right back at Lyon. We've spoken about him quite extensively. This for me would be my first choice right back to bring in. I like the profile of this player because I think he's still 18, 19. Very, very good reputation for attacking and defending. Look, he's not the finished article, but developmental wise, he could become one of the best right backs in Europe. And I think that we need that type of right back. I've always been realistic about Wan-Bissaka. I think with Wan-Bissaka, people over-exceeded what was happening. I've always liked Wan-Bissaka. I've never been somebody who said he's crap. I like Wan-Bissaka, but I know his limitations. Unfortunately, some of our fans have had to learn that the hard way over the last week. He's done very well for us over the last month. He was number 2 in the chart show and he deserved to be. I wouldn't go as far as what Roy Keane said at the weekend, but I would take some of that as being true. He's not very good going forward. He's not an elite defensive right back because as good as he is at tackling, he couldn't mark a shopping bag. He's rubbish. You wouldn't leave him with your trolley in Tesco. He cannot mark people when he's not in a one-on-one situation and they're running at him. If a cross is coming in, forget about it. So Wan-Bissaka has limitations and does need to be moved on. I don't think we need to move him on in January. I think we're going to have to do it in the summer now. But I wouldn't be saying long-term we're fine at right-back sticking with Wan-Bissaka and Delay, because you know what's going to happen every game that Wan-Bissaka plays now. You're going to be sat there like I am all the time thinking, if that cross comes into the back post, that could be a goal. It's a weakness. There is a way to score against Manchester United when Wan-Bissaka plays, and we've seen it with Man City and we've seen it with Arsenal in 2 massive games. Hang it up to the back post, and if he's on the back post, you've got a very good chance of winning the header. And if you win the header and it's the right sort of cross, you've got a very good chance of scoring goals. That Arsenal equaliser was appalling at the first goal at the weekend. So look, it is somewhere that we need to improve. This story, I think it's coming in from France, is that basically Chelsea are looking to sign Gusto in the January transfer window, and that Manchester United are trying to get the message across to wait until the summer and sign for us. I can understand that from Manchester United. I can understand that because there's absolutely no way that we can buy him in January. So, saying wait till the summer and sign for us is the only tactic we've got. It's a pitiful tactic, It's absolutely pitiful. If I'm Gusto, right, and Chelsea are there in January saying, come and play for us, We're going to pay you well. You're coming into a club in London that's going places. You know, we're really excited. We want you. And you got Man United going, we do like you, but can you wait till the summer and see what our situation is? I mean, I think it's obvious where he'll go, but that's the pitiful situation, and the frustrating situation is that here is another player that Erik ten Hag clearly wants, that we're saying, we're poor, but please wait, we might not be poor in a few months' time. And lo and behold, like Gakpo did with Liverpool, like João Felix did with Chelsea, and like Gusto will probably do at Chelsea as well, they will go where the club wants them. And Man United cannot put the money up. So we're just saying to players, please don't go to another club. Wait for us. Please wait for us. And if you're Gusto, you've got to consider a lot of things. You've got to think about money, obviously. You've also got to think about, well, what if I pull my hat? What if I do my cruciate ligament in April? Will Man United sign me then? And I could have been a Chelsea player. There's all sorts to think about. Now, I don't know whether he's going to go to Chelsea or not, but I think it's a pitiful argument, if true, that United are basically saying, wait till the summer. Now, what will happen is he'll probably sign for Chelsea, and then United will go, we never had any interest in the first place. But we can't compete. We've completely misread this January transfer window, and it surprises me. In a logical, calm way, it surprises me how we've misread this transfer window. I think John Murtagh set the tone for this back in October when he said, we're a club that likes to plan for the summer transfer window, and that's what we're going to do. January transfer window is really hard to work in, almost hinting that it's for desperate clubs, right? So desperate, yeah? Arsenal are top of the league, 2 signings. Spurs about to make a signing. Liverpool made a signing. Chelsea have made loads of signings. You could class Chelsea's situation as desperate, but it's a joke to say that, to set your stall out that you're going to ignore a transfer window that all your rivals are using, and then you're missing out on players that you want. Like, it's not like the laughable thing about United's stance about waiting till the summer because the January transfer window is a bad window where it's all about desperation. But we know we wanted Gakpo because we tried to get him in the summer. We know we wanted João Felix because we tried to get him in the summer. And here's another player, Gusto, that apparently won. All of them are going to rivals because we've got this pitiful tactic of waiting till the summer. Snooze, you lose. Laughable to think we're signing anyone else. Club is for sale. Murtagh said it last year, says Mark Perelez. Well, look, I've said my piece on that. I think any United fan out there that's trying to pretend that we're not doing business in January because we're being sold, Murtagh said this last year. It was said the year before, and it was said in October. We always ignore the January transfer window. It's a Glazer policy. We don't do it. And the reason I think we don't do it is because the financial year runs from June to June. And I think we spend in the summer and we don't want to spend again until after June. I think that's the United tactic. I think it's completely irrelevant that we're being sold. We wouldn't have been buying in January if we had. My point is, if United weren't for sale, we wouldn't be buying in January anyway. So saying we're up for sale, that's not why. I've heard people arguing, going, "Oh, people just need to chill. We're not buying anybody because we're up for sale." No, we're not buying anybody because we're run by the Glazers. We weren't going to buy anybody anyway. And just on the sale thing, by the way, is anybody else a bit bored of the fucking sale? Like, every day I see articles and videos. Oh, Qatar's going to buy us. Dubai's going to buy us. I mean, are you that boring that you can't think of anything else to talk about? I could do a video. We could do the 8 o'clock show, the 10 o'clock show, and the 2 o'clock show, making shit up about America, Dubai, and everyone else. I'm bored of it. Like, when Sir Jim Radcliffe came out last week, that's a big story. I really don't want to talk about it again until there's something from somebody credible. I'm bored of Dubai might be interested. Oh, McDonald's might be interested. Oh, I think KFC and Burger King will get involved now. I am bored of the sale talk. We've got very little detail. We've got no idea when the bidding process is going to happen. We've got no idea who's going to bid. And we've got no idea when they're going to be in. The only thing I'm interested in is that Manchester United are sold ASAP, and when that's going to happen. Because ultimately, we can all dream and talk about the summer. We can all dream and talk about Harry Kane or Osman or whoever else. But if we don't get bought before May, we're going to have a very bad summer because we're going to miss out. We're not going to know what we can spend. Very hard job for Erik ten Hag to say, whatever happens, I want to buy Osman. Because if a new owner comes in and says your budget's 100 million, you're not buying Osimhen. But if a new owner comes in and says your budget's 300 million, you are buying Osimhen. So Man United have got a broad stroke. It's the same situation as last year. I was thinking about when I was driving back from Manchester yesterday. We're in the same situation as we were last year. We spoke to people like Akanji and his agent in February last year and said, we're interested in you. Just sort of wait. We don't know what's going to happen. And then Ten Hag came in May and didn't want Akanji. So United prepped for a summer they had no idea what was going to happen in. And we're doing it again. We're doing it again. Ten Hag's got no idea what he can go for in the summer because he doesn't know what his budget is. So you can't do what Liverpool and Real Madrid are doing at the moment, where they're deep in negotiation with Jude Bellingham because they know that's the player that they want and they know they'll have the money to do it. Man United can't really approach anybody in deep negotiation and say, yeah, you're the player that we want. Mark, when Arsenal win the league, we will buy the Gulf states, says Zain Miasi. Okay. And funny how we thought at the sale announcement they already had someone lined up. Clearly they don't, says Mark. Well, I wouldn't rule that out, Mark, but I don't want to talk about the sale. Talking about the sale is like talking about what you'd do if you won the lottery. I just think it's dead air at the moment. And this is a news show anyway. I want to bring news to you. I want to comment and discuss news. So we've spoken about Gravenberch, we've spoken about Gusto. Hi Mark, I feel the management are writing off the season so early as they're not doing any business in late Jan. We need to strengthen the squad now, says Godwin. And Mark, I'm 20, I lost my dad last year. I've watched you every day since. Your great content has made everything easier. Thanks for the great content, says Stewie. Thank you, Stewie. Very sad to hear about your dad, and I'm glad you found something in the community that makes you feel part of what is a community, and I hope you have a good day, mate. That just reminds me, actually, keep your eye on the United stand over the next couple of days. Something really excited. I was filming something in Manchester for it yesterday. It's a community thing, but I'm very excited about it, and hopefully a lot of you will be able to get involved. So, really looking forward to it. Nice to see the nice messages for Stewie as well. I want to talk about Harry Kane here, just very, very quickly, because I was in Manchester yesterday. I don't know whether I've mentioned it. And Charlie, Adam, no, it wasn't him, it was Charlie and Adam. Charlie and Adam really want Man United to sign Harry Kane. And I actually did a cameo on the morning show yesterday with Adam and came in and spoke about it. So I think that I want to make it very clear that, look, Tolson, welcome to the Members Club for 9 months. Thanks for supporting the channel. I want to make it very, very clear that the United stand is about opinion, and the United stand is not against Harry Kane coming to Manchester United, because there's people on it and there's people in the chat who would bring him into Manchester United. Nasri, thank you very much. And obviously he scored another goal last night. I don't want Harry Kane. I don't want Harry Kane. That's my stance. But, I was having these chats with Adam and Charlie yesterday. They really would like him. I know a lot of you would really like him. And he is sort of splitting the fan base a little bit. But as I've said, the reason I don't want him is not because he's not a world-class striker. He is. I think his game has evolved where he drops too deep, and Spurs don't have a number 10, so it doesn't matter, but we do, so he'd be getting in the number 10's way. He'll be 30 when he signs for us in the summer, because he's 30 in the summer. And I do worry about English strikers, especially playing into their early 30s. They tend to fall off a cliff. So Bear says that Harry Kane's only 29. Yeah, this is something that and I noticed you've got a Liverpool badge there. This might be not why you can't figure it out. Some people are a little bit basic. So when we say that Harry Kane will be 30 when he signs for Manchester United, that's because he'll be 30 when he signs for Manchester United. I know he's 29 now, but he'll be 30 if he signs for Manchester United, because he won't sign for Manchester United until the summer, and in the summer, he's 30. So that's why we say he'll be 30 when he signs for Manchester United, if he signs for Manchester United, because it'll be after his 30th birthday. For those who didn't figure that one out, I hope that worked. I'll never get those 10 seconds back. Come on, Mark, you can have some of my posters, says Robert. So look, I like Harry Kane. I think he's a top striker, but I'm not going to change my mind on why I wouldn't do that deal. It's a preference. I would prefer to go for an Osimhen, right? But the interesting thing is, and I don't know whether it got mentioned yesterday, David Ornstein sort of broke that Harry Kane is going to sign a new contract at Spurs, or wants to sign a new contract at Spurs. And this was discussed on the morning show, of course. But interestingly, one thing I did see is that the thought of winning trophies at Manchester United is not something that motivates Harry Kane. Well, the instant answer to that is, he spent 13 years of his career not being motivated by winning trophies, so what sort of updates that? I mean, technically, it's because, moving to Man United and winning trophies isn't the reason he wants to leave Spurs. That's what it is. But the cold, harsh reality is, if he doesn't want to come to Man United, I couldn't give a toss. And if that's true, he doesn't want to, winning trophies isn't his motivation for leaving Spurs. Well, why change the habit of a lifetime, But look, I don't really care what Harry Kane does. I mean, it's not like signing someone that you're desperate to get. I'm not desperate for Harry Kane. I'm sure Robert McCormack is, and I'm sure some of you are. I'm not desperate for Harry Kane to come to Manchester United. If he doesn't want to come to Manchester United, or he does want to come to Manchester United, I don't care. Personally, I think that if Harry Kane left Spurs, it would be to win trophies. And if he leaves Spurs, he's definitely going to want to stay in England, because he's going to want to break the Premier League goal scoring record. And Man United's the only place he can do that, because Liverpool and Man City don't need a striker, and Arsenal and Chelsea wouldn't sign him anyway. So I think I don't really care. Damon, thank you very much for the super sticker there. I don't really care what Harry Kane does. If he comes to Manchester United, I'll back him. I would probably rather go elsewhere, if I'm honest with you. But I think he's just equalled the Spurs goal scoring record yesterday. So what else is there to do? I think as a striker of a striker of Spurs, once you've broken the all-time goal scoring record, you probably should leave, because there's not anything else you're going to win. All right, Spurs Player of the Year, he's probably won that every year. You're not going to win. He's not going to win trophies, is he? Let's talk about the fact that Gakpo and Nunez can't hit a barn door, and we're setting the bed about how we didn't sign them. Everyone is on Antony's back, but the grass isn't always greener, says Charlie. But you know what, Charlie? I think you make a good point and a bad point there. João Felix looks absolutely amazing. He only played an hour and got sent off, but he looked fantastic. João Felix is a player we should have got. And I think he would have been a revelation at Man United. I think he would have made a massive difference, and he could have played loads of positions. He could have played Bruno's position, Gakpo's position, Weghorst's position. He could play off the wide. Felix was the one that got away. He would have been perfect for us. In relation to Gakpo, well, just because Gakpo or Nunez aren't perceivably doing that well at Liverpool, and I think they will do, by the way, doesn't mean that they wouldn't have done well at Man United. I find that such basic analysis. Really basic to say, we wanted Gakpo, he's gone to Liverpool, he's not really done that well, so we dodged the bullet. I mean, there are so many fundamentals in that people are not listening about. For one, Ten Hag may have had a defined position for Gakpo that would have worked in our system that doesn't work in a Liverpool system. For two, the relationship and settling in might have gone better. For three, he might have had a chance in the first 5 minutes of his debut for United that he scores. There's so many. I find that really basic, and I think we're moving on from that. This is why it makes me laugh when Lampard gets sacked by Everton. He'll be on BT on the weekend. Gerrard gets sacked from Villa. He'll be on BT at the weekend. Poor managers, great players, poor managers will be speaking to us about how this works, how that works, and they've been found out. It's just basic knowledge, and I think it's a bit basic when people say, oh, wow, we've dodged the bullet there because that player's doing shit somewhere else, and it'd be completely different at United. Thoughts on a player like Antony for striker issues, says Jordan. Thank you very much. I don't think United will go anywhere near Antony with the gambling charges against him. I just think United, as a football club, whether that's right or wrong, they want to steer clear of those sort of things at the moment, especially when you consider all the things that we have had going on at the moment. Hi Mark, I love the amount of daily content and dedication on United Stand. Please could you call my mate Joe a prat, says James. And Sonia says, I listen to you every day, but I suddenly realise that you do something every day that you love. You're a lucky man. Keep up the good work, says Sonia. Yeah, I do love talking to you people, to be honest. It's tiring at times, but I do love it. But look, that just reminds me, actually, talking about player mentality. I only wanted to bring this in, and I'm going to bring it probably in a little bit early because I want to talk about De Gea and a few other things as well. But I don't know whether you saw this yesterday. So Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News. Now, I'm presuming it's true because it was in a group chat. And I'm sorry if it's not true, but I think it is. Samuel Luckhurst yesterday put a post out saying that at 1:30 in the morning, he got a 500-word email from the family member of a current Man United player basically questioning his player ratings. Now, I went through his player ratings, and I don't always agree with Samuel Lucker's player ratings, by the way, because he gave David De Gea a 5, which is fine. We'll talk about that in a bit. But then he said, on the Saka goal, he could have set himself better. I'm sorry, I sat next to an ex-Premier League goalkeeper yesterday in Ben Foster, I've played the game. I've done goalkeeping coaching. I've never been a Premier League goalkeeper, but I do know bits about goalkeeping. I know that save from Nketiah that De Gea made was amazing because it was so close to him and he had to move his body. They're the hardest saves as a goalkeeper. People think the outstretched save is the best. The ones where you've got to move your body into your body and get it away are difficult. But there's absolutely no way that Ramsdale's at fault for the Rashford goal or Saka or De Gea's at goal for the Saka goal, because those finishes are just unbelievable and they bend in. They come from outside the goal in. You can't do anything about that. So when Samuel Lucker says, David De Gea should set himself better, I'm like, oh, is that Samuel Hooker's the Manchester Evening News chief correspondent, or is that the England goalkeeper telling us about goalkeeper positioning sense? Because David De Gea's not at fault for that. I didn't like the punch. We'll talk about that in a bit. But, what I'm trying to say is journalists don't get it right. I don't get it right. You don't get it right. But it's worrying when the family member of a Man United current player is emailing a journalist about his player ratings. That is worrying. I don't know who that is. I looked at the player ratings and I was like, for it to be a family member, it's going to, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be somebody British, because I don't think the foreign players really. I can't imagine the foreign players emailing Samuel Luckhurst. I might be completely wrong. And the only 3 British players on the pitch, 4, Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw, Scott McTominay, Marcus Rashford. Rashford had a good mark. Luke Shaw's was average. I think McTominay got a 5, and maybe Wan-Bissaka got a 5. I don't know. I'm not here to name names of who it is. But if I was the player, I'd be bloody embarrassed about that. Because the worst thing is when you don't know the player who it is. Because people will go, well, is it that player? Is it that player? But look, if I'm Ten Hag and I get wind of that, I'm just going to say, look, to the dressing room, have a bloody word with yourself. We're building something here. Who are you bitching to send bloody emails about your player ratings? Grow up and get on with the job. And actually, I agree with those player ratings. You were shit. I just think we need to move away from that mentality. We've done so well this season. These little things, they're only tiny. They're laughable. They're not things where a year ago we were talking about dressing room leaks every day. They're not disruptive, but they are embarrassing. And they do betray still a fragility in the mentality of some of our players, that they're reading player. And you know what? If you're going to look at player ratings, look at the United stand. Because that's thousands of people voting. It's very hard to get an inaccurate player rating when you've got thousands of people voting for it. Samuel Luckhurst is one person who is known to have agendas like everybody else against certain players. So sending him an email about his individual player ratings, I think it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that you are that rumbled by one person giving you a low player rating. Ridiculous. But then I saw Troy Deeney. I think he was on a podcast. It might have been Ben Foster's podcast. And he was saying that he'd said something about Maguire, and Maguire's agent had got in contact with him and said, why are you saying that publicly? You wouldn't say it to his face. And then Troy Deeney said, well, I would say it to his face, and I said it because I believe it. And you think, look, that could be a lot. That could be a year or two. Definitely Pogba was at the club then, so look, things have probably changed. But United are doing so well. The fans are loving it, and Ten Hag's doing a great job. If we still have players with those types of mentalities, that needs ironing out and getting rid of, because you should not, in that United team at the moment, be thinking about what your player ratings are or what an ex-player is saying about you on a podcast. You shouldn't be thinking about that. You should be thinking about, working hard and getting in the team. And I look at that Man United side this season, and I think you've got people like, Dalot, Varane, Casemiro, Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes. I'm not saying all those players have been elite every single week, but their mentality seems to be absolutely spot on. I mean, Eriksen's another one. Eriksen, does he look like he's somebody that's bothered by a player rating? All right, his performances have dipped a little bit lately, but his mentality is, absolutely spot on. Weghorst played every position Sunday, thought, says Jordan. I want to talk about De Gea now, but I'm glad you asked me about Weghorst. Look, I spoke about Weghorst quite a lot yesterday. I did the football fill-in on Ben Foster. I was talking about that. I think I spoke about him on the preview last night. If you've not seen the Forest preview, check it out. I've not had a camera upgrade, no, JJ. But I've got a light behind me, which probably gives it a bit of depth. Look, I'm going to be honest, right? Pitiful is the word I've used for Man United's January transfer window. I'm not going to get hyped about a Burnley low-knee striker. I saw somebody yesterday tweeting out that Weghorst made more interceptions yesterday than any other player on the pitch. Oh my God, give him Player of the Year. Give him a new contract. I mean, he's a striker. He's a centre. How many shots on goal did he have against Arsenal? None. Do I give a shit about how many interceptions he made? He works hard from the front. Oh, give him a 5-year deal. Like, I know Weghorst is going to work hard. There's two things about Weghorst. One, he works ridiculously hard from the front. Two, if you can give him chances in the box, he's not that bad. We lost to Arsenal. Interceptions from the front just means he's intercepting passes that Arsenal are making. He's a striker. I want him to score goals. He had no service on Sunday. He had no service against Palace. The lad needs service. If we don't solve that problem, I couldn't give a shit about how many interceptions he does up front. You know, I know plenty of players who play in the lower leagues who will run and run and run and run and run. They run everywhere. Running around up front is not a trait that we can live off at Manchester United. We need goals from that guy. He's had no service. That's the thing that would be worrying me as Ten Hag, is I think he'll score his goals if we get chances. But like Malp says, lack of service has been a problem for ages. Ronaldo, Martial, Cavani, Rashford. Over the last 3 or 4 years, those 4 players we've spoken about week after week after week. The graveyard shift. The graveyard shift came to be because of the lack of service for strikers. I can't judge Weghorst at the moment because I know he'll run and run and run. But he will be judged on what he does with the chances. And at the moment, we can't say he's crap because he's not missed any chances because he's not getting any chances. At the moment, it's a very lacklustre signing because he's not a match winner. He's not somebody that, he's not like a João Felix who gets the ball and plays a defence-splitting pass or skips past the player or shoots from 40 yards. He's not an exciting signing. He's quite a lacklustre signing. But it's unfair to judge him at the moment because, apart from running around a lot, we've not seen anything because we're not doing anything. I don't think we put a decent cross into the box, apart from that corner on Sunday. So, look, I've got to be honest, the Weghorst signing to me is quite lacklustre and uninspiring. But I'd like to see us get some crosses in the box. I'd like to start judging him when he starts getting some service. Because at the moment, I look at United and I think if Rashford was out for a month, I'd really worry about top 4. Because Rashford's scoring goals out of nothing. That's what's worrying me about United. I liked the Crystal Palace goal because we created it. Rashford into Eriksen, pulled it back to Bruno, took a touch, bang, 1-0. I don't see a lot of that from United at the moment. I don't see constructed goals. I'm seeing a lot of individual goals. And the trouble with an individual goal is if that individual gets marked out the game or injured, where's the goals going to come from? So I'm hoping that in this game against Forest on Wednesday, tomorrow, and over the next few games, we've got some winnable games now as well. We've got 2 games against Forest to get to the Carabao Cup final, Reading at the weekend where we can rotate, and then we've got Palace at home, Leeds away and Leeds at home. So I want to go and see 6 wins in a row again, and I think we will. So, we just need to pick ourselves off, dust ourselves down, solidify top 4, win a trophy. That's what this season's about now. I was talking to... Well, I was in the office yesterday talking to some United fans because they're United fans, and there was real disappointment, and I said, "What's the disappointment about?" Because I feel disappointed, and a couple of people said, "Well, I think if we beat Arsenal, we might have been in a title race," and I said, "Yeah, see, I'm not disappointed about that. I'm disappointed that we haven't backed the manager, that he had no options, that we ran out of energy, and that might happen again. I'm not disappointed because we're not in a title race because I think that's too far this season." For me, it's exciting that we could get top 4 and we could win a couple of trophies. That's a good season for me. I'm worried about what lack of investment, lack of signings, fatigue is going to do to top 4 and winning trophies. Title, I'm not disappointed about because Arsenal are way ahead of us at the moment. Right. But Savage is still devastated. That's what it is. Top four's in our hands at the moment. We can't deny that. I do want to talk about De Gea. I'm not afraid to talk about this. Right. I'll start off with something. Right. If I had £1 for every time somebody told me how important playing out from the back is, I'd be a millionaire. But I tell you what's more important than playing out the back: stopping goals. And in David De Gea, I still believe we've got one of the best goal stoppers in the world. Man United want to sign him on a new contract, which means the manager wants to sign him on a new contract. That'll do for me. That's my point, right? In relation to the Arsenal game, I think that the Wan-Bissaka mistake cost us the game, without a shadow of a doubt. We're 1-0 up, we give a soft goal up, and that cost us. It cost us, right? If Wan-Bissaka deals with Nketiah, I think we go in 1-0 at half-time. And then Arsenal have got a different game plan, and so have we. But we didn't. We made a stupid mistake on the back post. It's 1-1. The Saka goal is absolutely nothing to do with David De Gea. The same as the Rashford goal is nothing to do with Ramsdale. They are just... I've been on a training ground. I remember watching a clip of Teddy Sheringham on The Big Breakfast probably 30 years ago. And he was about 40 yards out against what was probably a League 2 goalkeeper, and he scored 10 out of 10. And I was like, how is he scoring from that far out against, a reasonable goalkeeper? Top class players can beat a top class goalkeeper from distance. They can. If they catch it right, they can. I think some people say you shouldn't get beaten from there. And I think a goalkeeper would hate that, because it's not always the case. You shouldn't get beaten from 30 yards if you've had a good look at it and it's in the area where you can save it. But if they're curling it into the bottom corner from outside the goal, like Saka did or Rashford did, it doesn't matter how good you are. You're not going to stop it. There was one bit in the game that I will criticise David De Gea for, because I will always criticise players I like and players I don't like, because that's about being even-handed. There was a point in the game where the ball went really high in the box and it's a catch. I would have tried to catch it and I probably wouldn't have caught it. And he punched it, and I was like, "What's that all about, David? That's a mistake." That stood out big time. But again, people start. We're in a really dangerous position when people hold agendas that they just won't drop, because I don't think that's supporting Manchester United. I think that's about that agenda being right, and it's dangerous. I saw it with Luke Shaw. It went on for years. You get certain people who have certain agendas and they will not drop it. Now, I got into a bit of a conversation with someone a week ago, and we had a bit of a back and forth, and actually we get on all right now because we had a conversation about it, and I understood what he said and he understood what I said. But look, I get it. If you want to sell David De Gea, that's absolutely fine. But he's not being sold. So going on and on about it and making compilations about it, you're not the manager of Manchester United. I learned this a long time ago. I'm not the manager of Manchester United. I'm not. And David De Gea is our goalkeeper, and Ten Hag picks him. And until that changes, I don't really see what the problem is. I certainly don't see clipping up David De Gea punching a ball and Arsenal scoring 15 or 20 seconds later. I don't see any comparison with that. And as a manager, I would have a word with De Gea about that moment. I wouldn't say it cost us the goal. I would speak to De Gea and say, why didn't you catch that? Why are you punching that? Catch it. We've got possession of the ball. I would be saying that, because that is a mistake. Whether Arsenal go and score 20 seconds later or they don't score at all, that's still a mistake. But the goal that's scored that wins it isn't because he doesn't catch the ball. It's because McTominay overcommits to try and slide tackle a pass, and then he's out of the game, which leaves us a man short in the middle. It's because the cross, I don't know who it is it Fred or someone, they dive in when they should stay on their feet. It flicks up to Nketiah, who gets a foot on it, and De Gea would have saved it if he hadn't. Things go wrong in football games and momentum. But look, I don't think it was... I think there was mistakes in that, but I just think that there are... Certain players get a free ride and certain players get targeted, and I'm not here for that, because I'm seeing it with Antony as well, and I think people are going to get proven wrong about Antony as well. But look, it's all about opinion. I'm not saying that. I do think that that should have been caught and not punched. But I saw it over. Look, I think that David Raya at Brentford's fantastic goalkeeper. He's like having a number 10 in goal. His distribution is fantastic. But could he come to Manchester United and play in front of 75,000 fans and do that? Bartes came to Manchester United. He was good with his feet. He couldn't stop messing about. He couldn't stop making mistakes. At some point, the penny will drop with these people that you cannot go on TikTok, put a little clip up and say that this is the goalkeeper for Man United. And yet people will do it because they're not taking... It's like going to university and not going and not doing life. I'm going to university, I'm going to learn how to be an accountant, but you've never been an accountant, and you'll learn about being an accountant by going to be an accountant. Yes, you've got to study it, but then you've got to go and do it. You can't pick a goalkeeper for me and say they're going to be better than David De Gea, because I know that David De Gea, in the big moments, will make the big saves like he has done for 10 years in front of 75,000 people or wherever. I don't know that this up-and-coming goalkeeper isn't going to get swallowed up like we've seen many and spat out because of the enormity of the job. I don't think goalkeeper's a problem. Some people do. But you cannot tell me that such and such goalkeeper is going to come into Man United and do better than David De Gea, because you're missing out on the biggest, most important factor in the world. And you can speak to any player that's played for United and they'll verify this. Playing for Man United is different to playing for Brighton, for West Ham, for Stoke, for Porto. It's a different intensity. It's a different expectation. And, you know, you might be one of the best ball-playing goalkeepers in the world. You might be one of the best shot stoppers in the world. But have you got that 100% mentality and big game mentality to play for Manchester United? Because I've seen keepers come and just disappear in, you know, they almost get swallowed up. So, and also, just talking about the distribution, the ball that De Gea played out wide to Luke Shaw was a mistake because Luke Shaw wasn't there. But I was talking to Ben Foster about this yesterday, and he said, but as a goalkeeper, you're in the moment, and, you know, he knows Luke Shaw should be there, and he's made a mistake. But people are going like, well, he's kicked it into the crowd, what a twat. But, you know, he thinks Luke Shaw should be there, and in that second, he's kicked it there. Those things can happen. You've seen loads of players in midfield kick the ball out of play, and you go, why they've done that? These things can happen. And as for and another thing as well, as for the long balls that aren't accurate, I saw 3 long balls from David De Gea against Arsenal that were perfect for Weghorst to go and win. He just got beat by Gabriel or Saliba, because Weghorst in the air, although he's about 9 foot, isn't actually dominant in the air, and he didn't win the ball to hold it up. And yet I saw somebody saying, well, Robert Sanchez is brilliant at hitting long balls for Welbeck to hold it up. Welbeck's probably a better holder up of the ball than Weghorst. Oh, but Weghorst is so big. Watch them back. There was a lovely ball into the centre circle for Weghorst to go and win, and Gabriel just came through the back of him and won it. Well, as a goalkeeper or a centre-back, I can knock the ball into the area, but if he doesn't win it, that's what offensive duels are all about. How many can you win? It's not always the ball. When a ball's going 50 yards... that means it's going to take a couple of seconds to go 50 yards. That gives the defender an opportunity to go and move into the area. You as a striker have got to be strong. You've got to hold it up. Do you think Ahmad has a future with United, says Ivan Whelan? I hope so. I wouldn't bring him back. That's for sure. I wouldn't bring him back. Zero Blade says Welbeck's underrated. To be honest, Danny Welbeck, I'm going to use the words of Ricky. It will never, ever, 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 ever happen. But Danny Welbeck at Manchester United right now would be a breath of fresh air. He would be. Tell me I'm wrong. I mean, look, we've got Wout Weghorst up front for Man United for a start. Is Welbeck any worse? No, he's arguably better. But I'd take Danny Welbeck at Man United now. I'd drive down to Brighton and bring him back. I'd pay my own petrol, and it's bloody expensive. I tell you what, on the way back, we can stop off at a service station. He can have whatever he likes. On me. We'll stop twice, Danny. Yeah, you can even put your own music on. I don't care if it's classic Aha. I would get Danny Welbeck, and I think Danny Welbeck would love to come back to Man United, but we're never going to get him because Brighton will go, yeah, that'll be 20 million quid. But no, Ricky is right about that. But only in them specific circumstances. I think Ricky would sign Danny Welbeck in the summer over Osman and Kane. What I'm saying is, I would love Danny Welbeck to come back to Man United for 6 months and play up front for us. Then again, I think Danny Welbeck's injury record's not that great, is it? Kind of childish, but I was raging when Saka and Nketiah did Rashford's celebrations, says Daniel. Yeah, I don't know whether that's an age thing or not, but I just really couldn't. I'm not bothered about celebrations, really. I was more raging about how we conceded the goals. For me, I don't care if they do the Sue, the Rashford, the Lee Sharp jig. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, that is just... I suppose that's the side of the game that I've moved away from. It's the reaction of fans, isn't it? I had a few people on Sunday who were saying, hold that, and sending me pictures of Nketiah. And I was like, I'm reacting to that as much as I am to, paint wall down the road gets painted green. I'm not bothered about Arsenal player pictures celebrating. It doesn't rile me. What riles me is we lost 3-2. Thoughts on, I don't know who that is, Speedy. And hi Mark, is there YouTube highlights of the career mode? I can't wait to watch it live. No, Chris, YouTube Man United career mode's back at 3 o'clock today on Twitch, and we don't put highlights up anymore. They're just on Twitch. You can replay them there. James Duck has published an opinion piece about Antony. Well, it's all about opinion. My opinion on Antony for the millionth time is that I like him. I said it in the summer that this is the player that excites me the most because I like flair players. So I was most excited about signing Antony, but in honesty, if I'm ranking, and let's do that, ranking Manchester United's summer transfers right now in January, number 5, Antony, number 4, Malacia, number 3, Eriksen, number 2, Martinez, number 1, Casemiro. Now, why is Eriksen at 3? Because I think he's been consistent. Why is Martinez number 2? Because I think he's been fantastic. Why is Casemiro number 1? Because he's been world class. Why is Antony below Malacia? Because I think Malacia, for price, expectation, development, I think, it's a bit like Brentford fighting for top 4. Are they having a better season than Newcastle? Well, you could argue comparatively they are, because Brentford are exceeding their expectation, whereas Newcastle are exceeding expectation, but probably not as much as Brentford. So I would put Malacia at this moment in time ahead of Antony, even though I think Antony is a better player. I think Malacia, for what we bought him for and the expectation, I think he's had some real highs, he's had a few lows, but he's developing. Antony needs to do a lot more. But I like Antony, and I think he will do a lot more. And I think anybody who's writing Antony off at the moment is almost bordering on being a hypocrite, because they're probably the same people who are saying, oh, come on, Jadon. He's like a new signing. Jadon, come back. Come on, yeah, Jadon's back. We need Sancho back. And they're the same people who are saying Antony's load of shit. Antony's been here about 3-4 months, if you take the World Cup out of it. Sancho's been here for 18 months. Oh, Jadon's back. Jadon's back. Yay, come on, Jadon. Yeah. Oh, Antony's a load of shit. And I'm like, Antony's not even been here for a third of the time that Sancho's been here. Their wage is very similar. Their position is very similar. Why is Antony getting written off, but Sancho's like, oh, yeah, Jadon. I'm a massive fan of Jadon Sancho, by the way. I'm taking the piss out of these people who do that. But quite rightly, Jadon Sancho is still not being written off by the United fan base, because he shouldn't be. So Antony should never be written off after a few months. But you'll get experts going, I don't think it's going to work. For me, I think they've spent too much money. He's too flamboyant. He's too Brazilian. Oh, I don't like his haircut. Oh, he does too many skill moves. I think there's a player there. And I think what I'll say is, I think it will click. And when it clicks, it will be consistent. And I do. I can't guarantee that. Bloody hell, I've just named 5 transfers, and if Antony works, they've all worked. I've always said, any manager, when it comes to transfers, if they have a 70% success rate, they're a bloody genius. Nobody has 100% success with transfers. It just doesn't happen. At this moment in time, Ten Hag has got a very good success rate with transfers. He will have flops. Maybe Antony will be a flop, but at the moment it's ridiculously early to start saying that. He needs time, says KD. Ajax players unhappy. Can we take advantage, says Kyle? No, in a normal situation, I think we could take advantage of Ajax, but we did sort of piss them off taking their manager and most of their players last year. So I don't think we can capitalise on that one, if I'm completely honest. But you know what? I think you know what? I'm going to be fair here. Oh, you know what as well? I can't believe this. It'll make you laugh. There's a few of these people on Twitter. They're absolutely obsessed with me. Like, in a bad way, though. Not in a good way. They're obsessed, right? And there's a couple of accounts that follow me on Twitter, and they always send me a message saying, have you seen this twat on TikTok, or have you seen this tweet? And it's always something negative about me. And I do find them quite funny, because there was a time where it used to bother me, but actually I feel bad for them. I don't have to live in their head. Imagine living in a head where you're absolutely obsessed with somebody you've never met and you make lies up about them. Imagine what it's like to live in that head. Imagine if I woke up every morning and I was like, oh, Gary Neville, he never played for Man United. He's a City fan. He's an idiot. He's toxic. I can't stand him, I can't stand him. Imagine if I did that every day. Funnily enough, I do. No, but it must be a horrible place to live when your life is obsessed in a bad way about somebody. But I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So there's this one account. He's absolutely obsessed, and he constantly calls me toxic. Oh, he's so toxic and negative. And I'm like, it raises a point. I thought I was going to ask the chat about this. I can't remember the last time I was toxic and negative. I really can't. I can't remember the last time I was toxic and negative. And I don't really think I am that toxic and negative. I am negative about the way the club is run. I'm always moaning about January transfers, admittedly. Is that wrong? I actually really liked Rangnick. So the Rangnick area, I wasn't toxic. I desperately wanted Ten Hag. So minimum, I've not been toxic for over a year. Because I really liked Rangnick and loads of people didn't. And I love Ten Hag. We didn't buy anybody last January, and I've backed every signing we made in the summer. So I don't know what this is all about. I'm toxic and negative. About what? About the Glazers? Oh God, I'll leave. I think, I'm Will Young. I think I better leave right now. Oh God, sorry for being toxic about the Glazers not signing players. So it's a question. It's an open question. What am I toxic and negative about? Because this guy thinks I'm a toxic negative, and I'm like, I can't. What? But also, when you check his timeline, guess what he's always going on about? Clipping up David De Gea. And I'm like, what? What are you on about? I'm toxic and negative. Your timeline is full of clips of David De Gea making mistakes. I don't get it. Maybe I'm toxic and negative because I'm backing David De Gea. Maybe that's the new thing. You know, like things change. You know, like the word sick used to mean throwing up, and then it meant you're really good. Maybe the new toxic negative is to be positive about something that people want to be negative about. Maybe it's all about that. I don't know. But, look, honestly, what is it I'm toxic or negative about that's detrimental to this football club at the moment? Answers on a postcard. And if you do say people like Maguire and McTominay, I actually think I'm all right about them. I don't think they're very good. I think they need to leave. But I said both of those I wouldn't sell in January. So I don't think they're good enough. But I wouldn't sell them in January. I'd sell them in the summer. So I'm not coming out here every show going, get rid of him, he's rubbish. I think we're in a good place as a football club. And I want the Glazers to go. I don't think that's toxic. You have 1.5 million subs for a reason. Personality bridge, says Ike. Look, it doesn't bother me, but we are a community, and sometimes they bring those sort of things in. And I thought it was a really interesting point, because I respect you and I want to listen to you. I couldn't figure how he kept calling me toxic and negative. I think he's living in 2017, basically. Or it's just lazy. Or more importantly, I just think he's a sad person who I would not want to live in their head, because they're telling themselves lies. You know? No, I wouldn't, now I'm getting shit in the chat. I would not sell Maguire or McTominay in January. You could do it if you were a very good club. If you were Chelsea or Man City or someone, you could do it and get replacements in. But with a week left in the transfer window, if we sold McTominay, how would we replace him? We're not good enough to do that. You've got to wait. Basically, we've got to go with what we've got now, and then wait till the summer for change. And hopefully add a couple of loan players in. But I certainly would not. I don't, even Wan-Bissaka, I wouldn't do it now. I wouldn't. I think it's too late to start making big sales, because we wouldn't have the ability to turn it around. You know what we'd do? We'd sell McTominay for 30 million. We'd try and get Tielemans. Leicester would say F off. And then Arnold would say to Murta, or Murta would say to Arnold, well, I sold McTominay because I was going to get Tielemans, but then they won't let us have Tielemans. Well, why did you sell McTominay first for? Why didn't you ask them first? Well, I don't know. Everyone said on Twitter it was a good idea. So I wouldn't trust United to do anything at the moment. We've just got to go with what we've got and hopefully get a couple of people in. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching this morning. Really enjoyed it. We're back again in just under 2 hours. Ten Hag's press, I've just realised, Ten Hag's press conference is at 12. Well, we're live at 12:45. He's live at 12:30 for the Forest game. So 12:45, I'm back live for an actual press conference for Ten Hag. First one in bloody ages that's not pre-recorded. Mark, if you were, we would not watch. Live to short, says Sean from Ireland. Thank you very much for the support. We've also got a 4 o'clock show today. We're in the studio. This is a new show that we're going to start building out over the coming weeks. So we want to start doing a 4 o'clock live studio interactive show. I think Ricky's on at 4 today. So we will see what happens with that. 8 o'clock. Why do you look so tired, says Dominic? Because I was up at fucking 5 o'clock yesterday. I did about 5 hours of driving. And Seb's not been very well either. So life. I don't pretend I'm not tired. I probably look very, very tired. But these are things I look forward to. These are things that get me up. And not in that way. Take care, everyone. I'm just about to put up a video on That's Football in the next 15 minutes that you'll really like as well. It's about Player of the Year. It's quite controversial. Calls out a few... Well, one of the ex-players of Man United as well. So check it out on That's Football. I'll be back for the press conference in a couple of hours. Take care. Speak to you all. The cat doesn't live here anymore. If you know, you know. Moved out like Dick Whittington with an Arsenal shirt on him and a stick with a little picnic. I think he's gone to London like Dick Whittington. Speak to you in a bit.